There you go.
Right
Aha.
on.
So hiya, Spencer.
Hey, what's going on there, brother? Hey, Randy.
Hiya. Hiya.
Hey.
So today I thought we'd talk about um, the nature of reality. And what is reality? But to start with that, we actually have to start with belief.
Copy that. Always a
Okay.
good place to start.
Well, we need a definition. Anytime we talk about anything philosophically, if we don't have a good, succinct, concise definition for it, we're talking bullshit. That's like the video where I said the Cold War was based on a misunderstanding. Well, they don't know there was no good precise definition that everybody agreed on for what is capitalism or what is socialism. And once I gave those definitions, then it became clear that it was all a misunderstanding. I have to admit, you look like you're in the bathroom.
Oh, I'm in a laundry room.
That's what all the pipes are.
Yeah, it's
So the good definition for belief is to hold as true without knowledge or direct experience.
mm,
And that's an interesting definition on itself because it includes two phrases: knowledge and direct experience. Both of those things refer to the state of enlightenment, actually. That's what they really mean. If you're not in a state of enlightenment, you're in a state of belief. So, um, now to go back and talk a little bit more about that, about knowing. So, knowledge and knowing. So, first you have to know something before you have knowledge.
mm.
Or you can have the knowledge without knowing you know it if you don't know it. So, anyways, um, Plato, I think it was in Republic Book 4. I'm not sure. It was like, I read that back in my 40s. I read Plato. But he gave five levels of knowing. The first four um, are all opinion. You know, they're all personal opinion, meaning you're holding them true as a belief. The first is imagination. When I was a little kid, I remember seeing these shadows on my window, and my imagination, ginned up that there's a couple of guys in hoodies, looking into my window. And I told that to my parents, and they just freaked out. I saw a couple of guys in hoodies looking into my bedroom, but it was just shadows. But my imagination had come up with that there's two guys out there looking at the, and watching me in my bed. So that's the first level of knowing is we make stuff up. Superstition is like that. The next level, the first levels I believe is pronounced acacia in Greek, and pistis and belief is the second level. Belief includes religious dogma, um, whether you're uh, Jewish or Christian or Muslim, or even if you just have Buddhist belief, you still don't know, which is sort of odd to say for Buddhists having belief. Uh, the very idea of belief in Buddhism is like, no, that's yeah. The whole point is to be beyond belief, to no longer believe belief. To put it simply. So then we come to the next level of thought. I I think it's like this because I've deduced it's like that, or somebody told me it's like this. Um, and so that's a level where I think it's like this because I heard this and that about it. Uh, it's not just pure belief. It's a matter of you've taken other information, other sources, and adopt them as your view, um, without actually having experienced it or understood it for yourself. And this is common. We all have this level of thinking when we're supposedly clear, but it's actually just, let's say, a higher level of belief. And the fourth level is called noesis or understanding. Um,
Is that like gnosis, like Gnosis?
no, noesis, noesis,
Okay.
not gnosis.
Right.
And so the thing about this is it's understanding. So we call this level science. Now, this is a scientific method. All science really means, as a concrete definition, is a scientific process of testing something. And when we have the information where the test results always turn out to be the same, we say, okay, I see this over and over, so this is the way this is. But a scientist is ready to change that particular understanding when new information presents itself. And but this is still the first five of the five levels. The first four, Plato ranks them all as opinion. So even science is opinion. It's a belief. It's you do not directly know it. It's not gnosis, as we say, directly knowing. So then we come to knowing, the fifth level, and Plato never gave a definition of that. It was just always referred to the fifth, or just knowing. And this is really the level of enlightenment. So before we go any further, we have to come and say, well, what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is to know directly, to hold something directly, um, rather than as a belief or a dogma or an understanding, but a direct experience. Um, and there's no way to actually communicate this to somebody else if they don't have that experience, if they're not familiar with it, of the state of enlightenment. Um, you have some familiarity with it because you did the Eureka trainings, and during those trainings, you achieved a certain level of aha. And it really is like that. It's the aha that we have. So we have to take this first and say, what is reality? Now, Echaza pointed out that there was a physicist named Niels Bohr, who was very famous because he's sometimes called the father of quantum physics. And he was a contemporary of Albert Einstein. And so quantum physics and relativity have never been entirely reconciled. They're still working on the different theories of understanding it. I mean, there's a theory, I believe, called E8 and string theory, and they're all still trying to reconcile this. The physicists traditionally always were looking for a unified field. And there's another interesting word, unity. So, what does unity mean? Well, in a human being, it means a state where our mind, the various parts of our minds, are all in a single alignment towards a single viewpoint. And in this state, we don't have the different parts of our minds, which we learned about in the Eureka School. They're different parts. In fact, there's the nine hypergnostics systems training, which teaches you about the nine divisions of your mind. that relate to the 9 systems in the body that are delineated in that. This is old knowledge. The basic fundamental underlying it is the oldest of knowledge. It's in every culture. Um, I give the word culture a definition of saying that in a society which tends to promote unity. Unity meaning the state of enlightenment where there's a unified understanding. There's another type of unity that's meant. For instance, fascism believes that all citizens uniformly support the state. And that's the idea of fascism. In the Roman model they had in the Roman Senate, they carried a fasces, which was a bundle of sticks with an axe head on it. And the sticks, among other things, showed the unity because you could break a single stick. It's like the old arrows. You can break a single arrow, but a bundle of arrows you can't break. So if the state and the citizens were unified, then the state was strong and the state was safe and the citizens were safe. And this is the idea of fascism. Unfortunately, fascism also includes an element of racism and nationalism, um, which we're presently experiencing around the world. Uh,
Was it always that way with fascism?
the word fascism comes from the word fascius, which is, as I said, is that symbol, that bundle of sticks with the axe head on it of the Roman
Right.
Senate. And these were the lictors, which carried these things and proceeded in front of whoever the like the proconsul of the Senate might have 12 lictors, or 24 lictors, preceding him in there, and they were to keep order, and they had these bundles of sticks with an axe head on it, and if they had to physically keep order, you were fucked. So you had to maintain a certain decorum in the Roman Senate, which of course was there was a lot of political manipulation of what decorum meant, but that's all history. We're not here for that today. Today we're talking about the nature of reality. So going back to Niels Bohr work implied as our philosophy teacher Chazo pointed out, it implies that uh, energy is light slowed down and matter is energy slowed down. So the ultimate simple realization of that is everything is light. When somebody says we're beings of light, we actually are in a very real sense of physics, in that one sense. And you have to remember, physics is our highest science, where they mathematically model these things, the laws of reality, or the laws of existence, I should say. Well, reality, it's time and space, and existence is our physical material understanding of reality. So, in essence, everything comes from light. With the birth of light, so to speak, comes time and space, comes existence. So everything is light. We are beings of light, um, and we have shadows in our soul, you could say, which is our ego, our limitations of looking at ourselves as the sole fundamental thing that needs to survive. So when we understand that, and we come and we look at that, and that's sort of an amazing recognition, an amazing understanding. But there's
And then
something,
so and then so I just want to say, so then there's another level to this where, with physics you have the level four like understanding of it. And then level five, there's a direct knowing of that that principle that we are all light as
yes,
given by.
yes, we practice this when we work with the lights in the school.
Yep.
Um, there was a recent scientific experiment where they put people, in completely enclosed dark chambers, and they could read very faint emanations of light from the human body up until the body dies. At that point, all organic things produce light. Life produces light. And when life leaves, the light leaves. Or the light the light leaves and life leaves, whichever one. I actually wouldn't say which comes first. I think they sort of come together. I think they're both the same thing. So, anyways, this is a basic understanding. Now, remember the four levels. The first four levels, science being understanding, is still not knowing. So then we have to ask the question, because we're in time and space and our minds have to work within time and space. We have to think of it that way. When we discuss things to understand them, we have to say, from where did light come? That question itself has a problem. That is, that to say, where did it come from implies time and space already. It's already here because there's time and space, so there's no where did it come from. You see, it contradicts itself to even ask the question, where did it come from? There's no where because it's before time and space. So where it comes from is consciousness itself. Consciousness is both before and in time and space. And this direct experience of this in ourselves in the state of enlightenment, when our minds and bodies and psyches are in complete unification, and we don't have, for instance, have our three centers pulling against each other with their different demands and our different desires, and we are in that state of enlightenment, we see clearly what it is. And it is, in fact, unity. It is, in fact, reality. Now, we don't know external reality that way. What we know is we know, like a physicist knows, uh, mathematically knows laws of time and space, laws of creation, laws of existence. That's, in essence, what physics is a mathematical representation of reality. Um, and as they learn more and their understanding changes, they change these laws and or they add to them or discard them, depending on the evidence as it comes forward and is recognized and agreed upon. So the only way we can understand directly is to understand the laws of our own consciousness. Consciousness has pre-existing laws, pre-existing, um, let's say, conditions of itself that it follows. And it is in knowing these, that in knowing our own minds, that we know reality. We never experience, for instance, I see your image there. I see Spencer on my computer screen. Is that Spencer that I'm seeing? Is this Randy you're seeing over here? You're seeing an image of Randy. You're actually seeing something that's perfectly flat, and it's this data that's coming in through your senses, your eyes, and it's being reformed inside your head and your brain and being projected as what you see as the image of the external world. And so on the screen, you see Randy. But only in your heart do you see Randy. It's only here that you see Randy. And it's only here that I see Spencer. And it's not the body that Spencer has or the body that Randy has. It is the essence, the consciousness that's there. So in this case, we can say this is the nature of reality. It is consciousness. All is light. We are light in our existence. And when we work in meditation, we work with the lights that we actually see that our own mind produces in ourselves. And as I was saying, the body literally produces light. They've scientifically already proved this. It's not a question anymore. So when somebody asks you if it's seen the light, they mean two things. Do you have a dogmatic understanding of some religious um, position? I've seen the light. Jesus or Muhammad's truth in his sayings, and or whatever else it is, and or even Buddha, who would have found this rather funny, I suppose, to say, well, yet you understand something. Plato famously, or Socrates famously, went around asking people um, about their professions, about their understandings of the world, and they kept showing that they actually didn't understand. That's part of the reason that they ordered him, they condemned him to drink poison, is he just pissed everybody off by asking them something that showed that they didn't really understand. Because again, the only way you understand and you see reality is in the state of enlightenment. And you're not in the state of enlightenment, you're in the state of belief. It's just one or the other. It's no, there's not something in there. Of course, we have to remember that the state of enlightenment has levels. In the most simplest terms, a mild lower state of enlightenment, we might still be tugged at a bit this way and that way, but we're more secure in understanding and seeing things as they are. And the deeper we go, the less we need things. For instance, my mouth's a bit dry and I feel like I really need to have a little drink of my kombucha brew here. And that's better on my throat and easier for me to talk. Um, but I could continue to talk without that. I could simply ignore that. There was that attention to my physical state and my desire to be a little more comfortable as I talk to you today. And so these things affect how we view reality. But in the state of enlightenment, these things don't matter. In a deep state of enlightenment, you're perfectly content to do absolutely nothing. You're happy doing absolutely nothing. And when you have to go
And
do,
experiencing all experiences.
so you're echoing a bit. Can you say that again?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Did, can
Completely
you
happy
can you
to.
can you adjust your audio at all? Do you know how to go to there and adjust your audio? And because there's original sound for musicians, and you might have that turned on, and then there's noise removal. If you go over, can you see the little audio thing there on your Zoom thing?
I
Because if you
I
do
wouldn't
that,
worry about it too much right now.
it's a bit difficult in
It-
the audio here to understand what you're saying because the echo keeps reverberating through, and it makes it a bit difficult. And I'm not
yeah,
worried about it. So
it'll
go
be
ahead and
fine.
ask your question. I'll answer as best I can.
I was basically just going to say that in the state of enlightenment, yeah, you're content with, pretty much nothing and just like taking in all experiences as simply an experience. And, there is no one way or another that, you need to be complete in anything else, like,
Yeah,
with Lucha or what have you.
yeah, pretty much. You're just, in essence, you're satisfied.
Yeah.
You're content with everything that's around you, and so you've experienced a state of enlightenment, and you know this experience yourself. So this is, in essence, how we know anything we actually know is only in the state of enlightenment. The rest of the time we're in belief. So, and remember, that means to hold as true without knowledge or direct experience. So again,
I just want to say you're doing a great job explaining this, by the way.
well, if you understand it, I must be.
Yeah, I feel like it's very well thought out and structured. Just want to let you know that. So thank you.
You're welcome. And that's it for this discussion today. That was it. It's short and sweet, so to speak, compared to what we have done.
So if we can do like a brief summary, I think that'd be fantastic. So I'll try to do the best on my end. Is basically looking at there's the five levels of knowledge, right? And the first four is a state of belief.
Yes.
And the fourth one, I would say, is incredibly important in the state of belief is working with science to get to understanding, to know
Understand, it's the highest level
of
that
belief.
yes, it's the highest level, the one from which we can act rationally.
And then the nature of reality has its own fundamentals and laws. And that nature of reality is, we are all light. And I suppose light is the nature of reality.
Yes, and more.
Okay.
What's the origin of light?
It always is and always was.
That's time and space. What's the origin of light?
Consciousness.
Yeah. So we're radical monists. Now we say the state of love is simply the recognition of the same consciousness. I look at your image and I can actually feel you in my heart, but I can do that without even looking at your image, but it's there. And it's that recognition. Now, when you've been in love with a girl,
Yes, sir.
there was something perfect about her when you were in that state of being in love, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's consciousness. It's your own consciousness you're seeing without defining it as such, without understanding it as such. It simply is in your heart, and you feel that perfection of that consciousness. And then here's where it's the madness of love, um, where love is sort of like being in a state of insane, is you're projecting out of yourself the necessity to experience that direct consciousness onto something else instead of in yourself. And so that's why when we've fallen in love in our lives with whoever, we've sort of entered a state of insanity where we stop recognizing the love inside coming from our own hearts and place that entirely upon that external, whether it be a person or the moon. When I die, I've been working on a book, uh, Saints and Fools, uh, and there's some poetry in there, love poetry to the moon. I've been in love with the moon, and it's quite literal, and also it's symbolic. The moon in that idea is the symbol of the mind. It is our minds that we turn to and live within always. And when we recognize consciousness and we're in a state of love, we are actually in love with mind itself. And we can say that consciousness and mind are one. And since all of existence comes from consciousness, all of it, we can say very, very simply that there is only one. If everything is light, and light comes from consciousness, and love is the recognition of the same consciousness, then we can also say all is love in that state, in that sense.
And then so to connect, saying that, you know, all is one, and applying that to, is this in the same concept of applying that to like radical monotheism to say that
Yes,
one?
it's just radical monism is the term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Monotheism implies a religion that has a
Right,
belief about there being one God, whereas radical monism is simply the recognition there is only God.
right.
How can that be? How can there be evil then? How can God be the evil? Plato famously had a long discussion about good and evil, and his conclusion at the end of it was the only good is wisdom, and the only evil is ignorance. And it was a very logical discussion. If you ever want to go look for it and read Plato, which I don't advise most people to do until they're like at least 40 years old. Oh, that's just it's a traditional way to understand it is that it's something you're not ready to really understand and accept because your ego as you see yourself doesn't exist. Spencer dies, Randy dies, and Randy's gone. There's no more Randy. The essence that was there, the consciousness that was there continues. It always was, it is, and always will be beyond time and space. It's in time and space when it has a body, and it's beyond when it doesn't. But it always is what it always is. Same for you. And that is the same consciousness. It isn't a different consciousness. There's not a different consciousness over there. It's the same consciousness.
Because all is one.
Yeah. Now there's a point of view of that consciousness. The consciousness can have have literally infinite points of view, and Spencer is a point of view of that one. But when you understand it, what is that one? It is the one. And so when we say that there is nothing but God, there isn't. And that's a logical view of God. It's a very difficult view for instance, atheists who've spent their whole lives, um, well, believing in their atheism. I've had discussions with atheists. They always sort of run into a blank wall when they don't have the direct experience of their own consciousness in the state of enlightenment. It always runs right up to that point, and then they don't get it. But on the other hand, they don't really have logical arguments that hold up either.
And I would
So,
reckon that anyone who's like, and a self-proclaimed atheist, falling in love, whether they do or they don't, right?
oh,
Whether they have
atheists
experience.
fall in love like everybody
Mhm.
because it's natural. There's at some point there's a recognition of the same consciousness, and
Right,
every human life that matures enough. I fell in love when I was in kindergarten with a girl.
right.
So, it's there. It's just something that happens in certain states for every human being. Well, any more questions?
I think if there's anything left to summarize, that would be fantastic. I personally can't think of anything at the moment, so if you can.
Well, if you want to summarize it, the reality is there's nothing but God.
So
So I'll stop the recording, and you want me to send it to you?
I suppose.
I'll do that. All right, Spencer. Good to see you.
Likewise, dude.